Step right up and test your strength. That's right, today we're playing Fuerte. And because I like you, I'm going to give you a few tips to get the achievements in it. There are 2 achievements that you can earn, the Strongman Achievement and the Stronger, Harder, Better Achievement. When playing this game, you will mash the buttons to build up as much power as possible. By hitting the hammer at 90% or more power, you will earn the Strongman Achievement. By hitting the hammer at 90 power on both rounds will make you stronger, harder, and better. You will know that you're at 90% power or more when your character jumps up in the air before hitting the hammer. But how do we build up so much power? That is what we're going to look into today. For this game, I need a volunteer, someone who still needed the Strongman Achievement. My buddy Killer here has been trying to get this achievement for a while now, and so far has had no success. And that was about to change. At first, Killer and I channeled our inner strongman by using normal methods. But those turned out to be quite painful. Now, in order to achieve strongman, one must know what it takes to become a strongman. You're all familiar with Brian Shaw, the 4 times world's strongest man. He could probably do this. So in order to get our achievement, we need to be just like him, and I think I found a way. Each of Brian's 4 titles perfectly represents what it takes to become a strongman. So here are the 4 tips to build up strength, starting with the keyboard. Mashing the keyboard is how you build the most power, so naturally, you might think that mashing the most keys will build up the power the fastest. I decided to test this out by mashing 1 key and seeing the power that it generated, and comparing the power that I got from that to mashing 2 keys, to 3, 4, 5, and then as many as I possibly could using a single hand. And as it turns out, there is a correlation to the more keys earning you more power over time. Your best bet is to mash the keys towards the top of the keyboard. Any key will build power, including the numbers keys, the spacebar, enter, and shift keys. But the bottom row of the keys have the Windows key and the left control key, which can cause you to exit out of the game if you are not careful. So it's best to avoid those as much as you can. Try to mash at least 5 keys at a time, and make sure that you allow each of them to properly come back up after pressing them. You can jump to different keys if you want, or you could stay on the same ones. This is completely up to your preference. Now for the second tip, which is the mouse. The mouse might just be the most important part of the process. As you mash the keys, you need to make sure that the big circle stays inside of the small circle. This is the only way to gain power. No matter how hard and how much you mash the keys, you will not gain power unless the mouse is lined up properly. Make sure to line up the circle right away so you can start building power as fast as possible. Getting yourself off to a great start is the best way to assure that you have a great round. When testing out how many keys that you should mash on your keyboard, you may be tempted to use both hands to click the keyboard, but having a hand on the mouse is far more important. If you feel like there can be more keys getting pressed, you can always refer to tip 3, which is of course, clicking. Clicking your mouse will also build up power similar to the keyboard. Alternate quickly between left and right clicks to give yourself a little extra bit of power. Clicking the mouse and its 2 buttons will build up a similar level of power as it would to clicking 2 keys. It may not be much, but it can be just enough to push you right over the edge. In the world of strength, every little bit counts. And it's time for the final tip, which is to feel it. You've got to feel it. This is not a casual game. Like Brian Shaw getting prepared for a big lift, you may find yourself screaming. You may want to go pace around the room for a little bit, getting prepared for what you're about to go through. If you have some smelling salts, I will not stop you from using them. And there's no shame in using a mouth guard. You need to attack this with everything you've got, and not hold back. Remember, the more you mash now, the less you have to mash later. Attack it, and don't stop. But that's just the thing. You see, in the world of strongmen, there's no easy way to succeed. You can't cut any corners. And no matter what Killer and I tried to do to give us an advantage, there simply was no trick. There was no easy setting that we could switch up that would lead to constant success. There was no key bindings that we could switch. There was no way to set the FPS to a different setting, which would change how we performed. And there was no method that would guarantee us a win. And after nearly an hour of trying to train up my friend, we had nothing to show for it. I told him to take a break, grab some tokens. While I took a break myself, I walked down to my local car store, the same car store Brian Shaw was sponsored by that I just happened to live right next to. And as I stood out there, I tried to channel my inner Brian Shaw. Think like Brian. Think like Brian, I said to myself. And then it hit me. You see, Brian is the 4 times world's strongest man, and anybody could be the 4 times strongest man. That's why Brian to this day continues to push himself to be even greater than he is now in his relentless quest to become a 5-time champion. He could call it quits right now and just retire, but he knows that if he continues to push himself and never give up, he will become the 5-time champion. With this new insight, I knew that there was a 5th tip that I could give to my friend, one that would surely push him over the edge. And as he returned with the tokens in his hand, all he had to say was just one thing to me. And upon hearing it, I knew that Killer had already understood exactly what that 5th tip was. Killer had found what it took to become a true strongman, all on his own accord. I knew he had it in him, so when he grabbed the hammer for his next attempt, I knew I was about to witness something brilliant. And there he was, the strongman of Fuerte. And for that brief moment, Killer had not taken the form of some Americanized anime woman, but instead he took the form of the mighty Brian Shaw, a glorious sight to behold as he walked among the arcade. And that, dear viewer, is the most important tip that I could give to you. No matter how difficult things might seem, no matter how hard it might be, the most important thing is for you to never give up, because all it takes is that one moment of greatness, and your achievement will belong to you forever.